Fingers crossed.
We're live.
Hey, hi everybody. So we're live here today at Forever Bridal. We're doing another one of our Zoom Wedding Wednesday videos today. Our call-in. We've got 6 wedding planners on with us today. Today, obviously, is our wedding planner spotlight. So we're so excited to be able to continue to bring these live Zoom virtual Q&As to you. We're going to be talking about wedding planning today. So if you have any questions regarding your wedding planning, how to get started, maybe you're already partially through some of your planning and you have questions for our planners, it's your opportunity to ask away. So we're going to start by just kind of introducing everybody that we have on the platform today. I'm going to switch over to our speaker view so you'll be able to see them individually. First up, I want to introduce Brooks and Reed Events.
Sorry, I didn't know how to unmute.
There you go, you're good.
Hey, my name is Caroline Parker. I'm the owner and head planner of Brooks and Reed Events here in Smithville, North Carolina. Do you want me to go into like my story?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I got involved in the wedding industry from the time I was basically born. My dad is a wedding photographer, and so I photographed my first wedding at 8 years old with him. And so that is how I got into it. And I'd always loved the industry and helping my dad with bridals and things like that in the studio. And then when I was in college, my childhood best friend planned this big old wedding, and Hurricane Matthew hit it the day of her wedding. And I realized just how important it was for people to have a wedding planner and things like that to coordinate your vendors, especially on that day of when a disaster like that happens. So that is how I decided to become a wedding planner. And I've launched my business about a year ago now, and I'm excited to be here.
Great, awesome. We're excited to have you too. How about daisies and such?
Hi, I'm Penny Werner. My other two partners cannot make it today, but I have two other partners, Cindy and Sissy, and we're just three retired mamas who got together because we have done so many of our children and our cousins of children and family and friends weddings that we have so much supply that we wanted to share it with everybody. Plus we love doing events and whatnot. So we have a love for that and decorating and florals and everything else. So we opened a business 2 years ago and here we are.
That's fantastic. Here you are. Great. All right, moving on. Let's talk to Michelle from I Do Weddings.
Hello, I'm Michelle Workman. I am the owner of I Do Weddings by Michelle. I'm in my second year of business and loving every minute of it. So I have done events for churches, schools, weddings for a really, really long time. But my professional experience has had been in social work for many years. And my family moved here to North Carolina in 2017. And after looking for work for quite a while, my husband's like, why don't you just do something you really want to do? And I'm like, I want to do weddings. So that's when I started looking into doing a business. And so this is my second year of business and I'm loving it. It's going great. And Forever Bridal has been so helpful in that. So I'm so thankful to be doing what I'm doing and I love it.
Thank you. That's a nice compliment. Carolina Bells.
Hey, I'm Lauren. I'm the owner of Carolina Bells. I started event planning with corporate events actually back in 2006, so that was quite a while ago. But I transitioned into weddings. It's just something I like to do a little bit better than corporate events. I do still do corporate events and showers, parties, and all of that. But I really like the personal touch that goes into weddings, so that is my main focus now. I moved to Raleigh about 2.5 years ago, had a baby, and then after I decided to go back full time, decided to open up Carolina Bells here in North Carolina. So I've worked in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach area, and then I started off out in Northern Virginia. So I have quite a wide spectrum of different kind of events that I've done.
Fantastic. Thank you. How about Southern Skies? We haven't introduced you yet, have we?
We have not. So
Okay.
hello, everybody. My name is Jen. I'm the owner of Southern Skies Events, and we are based in Raleigh. I actually got my start at the age of 16. I planned my own Sweet 16. It was a costume party, and I have 2 older brothers, and they actually told me that I had a knack for it, and that was that. I continued from there, and I worked my way up from dishwasher up to event manager. And then I was baptized by fire at a company in Maryland. We did 700 weddings a year. So it was learned a lot and then decided that I wanted to open up my own company. And so here I am. I'm in my 2nd year of business. And along with myself, I have a dedicated team of 4 women who are passionate, creative, and experienced. And I'm loving it. I absolutely love it.
That's fantastic. That's always fun to hear. Timeless Blooms.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Well, I am Amy Giglio. I am one of the owners of Timeless Blooms. Unfortunately, Chris, my business partner, wasn't able to make it today due to social distancing. So we are Timeless Blooms. The way I got into wedding planning, I kind of, just originally just loved planning things in general, like people were saying earlier, my friends' baby showers and parties and things, and a New Year's Eve party and Christmas parties and things like that. And then it was my turn to get married, and I was able to plan my wedding. And ironically, that's actually how Chris and I met. He was one of my vendors, and we became such good friends. And one day we were chatting after my wedding, and I said, I really would love to do this like all the time, because I absolutely loved planning my wedding, and I just would love to do that for every single bride I possibly can. And he said, that's funny, because I would love to work with you on that. And so that's how Timeless Blooms got started. And we are just so excited to be in business and to be helping brides make their weddings come true. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
That's so fantastic. And you know what, Amy, that's just such a true testament to how vendors, especially wedding planners, connect with their brides from the very, very beginning and establish those relationships and really become good friends and share so many happy moments throughout the entire time of planning and then executing their wedding. And that's just such a feel good right now and everything that's going on, to know that wedding planners and wedding vendors in general really do make these special connections with their couples and really see them through from the very beginning all the way through the wedding and even after. And for you, it turned into a business relationship.
Oh yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've got brides that we've booked that are during Bachelorette, we're like, IMing each other on Instagram, like, can you believe he just said that, or whatever it may be. So it really is so much more than just a business relationship, and that's what's so rewarding to to do this job.
Yes, thank you. That's great. And now, do all of you wedding planners know each other?
Not all of them.
A couple. Well, that's great. This is a great way to make connections, like a little bit of networking as well. I've seen a few of you over the past few weeks just doing these lives, so it's really great to be able to connect more frequently with everybody on these Zoom calls, and I can't wait till we can do it in person. I think we'll probably all make more of an effort to do that moving forward. But it's really great to be able to come together and collaborate as a group of wedding planners. Last week we did wedding venues. This week we're obviously doing planners. And it's just really great because I know during times like this, but even just during normal times, sometimes you have a question or you need help with a bride or need other answers. And it's just a really great opportunity for you all to lean on each other a little bit and help get some answers as we navigate through all kinds of different processes with wedding planning. There's so much that goes into it. So we've talked a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and what inspired you to get started. Tell us a little bit about your style.
I can go first. I don't mind.
Okay.
So I consider my style to be modern with a traditional twist. I love the traditions of like the mother of the bride is the host of the party and things like that. And so I love that modernness, but I also love the traditional side of wedding planning too.
Great. Anybody else want to chime in?
For Southern Skies, we focus on simple elegance. A lot of our brides want something that's nice, but simple, not going to break the bank necessarily, but you still get that feel and get to focus on the personalization that they bring.
Love that.
I really enjoy the different traditions that different cultures bring to weddings. And so I love to learn about new cultures and see how people do things. And so that's really fun to me. But I love to work with all kinds of brides and just kind of go with what they want to do. And so,
Yeah, totally agree with you there. We love the tradition, but we love seeing new stuff and unique stuff and different things and just things that I don't know, like I said, that's just different and makes us think a little bit, and use our brain, use our creative brain a little bit. So I like those too.
Yeah, I really like pulling in the couple's personalities into it. A lot of times they bring us a bunch of sports or
Oh, we're losing connection a little bit.
Oh no. Oh. It's not so great. So if you can't hear me, I'm sorry.
Oh no, we have you. You're back.
Okay. This internet here and stuck to what's at home. So
I think we may have lost her a little bit. So talking about loving traditions and simple and elegant and family activities and things that are unique to them, how much of weddings that you do are kind of fall in line with trends and what a lot of the brides and the grooms are doing versus the out of the box weddings? What kind of percentage or scale of it is kind of like, okay, this has been on trend for a while, all the girls are doing this, versus totally different?
And what are the new trends that you guys are seeing? Because weddings are always getting new trends. So what are some of the new exciting things that people are doing with that?
I think it's really what people are seeing at their friends' weddings, because that's where they get kind of that firsthand experience and they go off of that. So they want it to be different than what their friends are doing because all their other friends are seeing it, but they might steal an idea or two. I know I have a bride who's planning to do flower grannies. They don't really have kids in their families, but they're dressing up their grandmas to walk down the aisle. And so that's something unique and fun that I think is going to be a great photo op and a great story.
That's cute.
We have a mixed bag because we like to do whatever the bride wants to do, but we tend to say, do you have a Pinterest board? And most of them do. And then we tell them to make their decisions and get off. But we have some exciting ones coming up. Like we have a Halloween wedding coming up in October that we're really excited about. These people are very into Halloween. Everybody's coming dressed. So that's going to be exciting and very untraditional, but it'll be really cool. So we'll do whatever they want to do.
Is that the first time you've ever had a Halloween wedding?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes.
I can't wait to see those pictures.
Oh yeah, It's going to be so cool.
I've seen a move from like your traditional sit down meal buffet to more of like a food station so everybody can just kind of flow and not so much cake anymore. I've had several brides do like pies and donuts and cookies and different things, because it seems like sometimes your cake, not a lot of people eat it. They want to have something small for the cutting, but then they just want, little desserts that they can just pick up. So I've seen stuff like that changing too.
My daughter did cheesecakes. She doesn't
Fun.
like cake. So,
Yeah, the last wedding I did was on Pie Day, and so they did pies, and that was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the big things we're seeing too, because we're florists as well, is some type of really cool like floral wall of some sort, or floral chandelier. Those are really big right now that people are loving, or something really unique for like to find your seat in some type of floral manner. Right, I think those are really big right now. Another really cool thing that one of our brides is doing is actually in their boutonnieres. Each men's boutonniere is going to be the flower from where they're from, which I think is really, really unique, sets them apart. So I think that's really cool. I think, and then going back to the food thing, we're seeing a lot of family style. So instead of buffet, we're hearing that a lot of people want to actually have a big bowl put on the table and kind of family style passing around. So that's kind of some of the things that we're seeing as well.
And you guys, Timeless, you did flowers for a wedding of mine, and you did this big arch. It was beautiful. You guys
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think that I'm seeing a lot of a different perspective while seeing kind of the same perspective. So like people are still into Pinterest. They're still looking for those trends. They're still looking for what's hot, what's their friend doing versus what their friend's not doing. But I think I think my business is somewhere in the middle, because I'm in the heart of the Bible Belt, and that Southern church wedding is kind of coming back, which I love. But I think that brides are not really concerned with having an over-the-top like centerpiece or things like that as much as they're concerned about being with their family and friends. And so I think a lot of that, like not doing dessert, like they are going back to the cake so that they can feed 300 people. So I don't know where I fit in there, but I see a lot of that happening. I mean, I feel like every wedding I've booked for this year is over 200 people, which if you're feeding everybody a $9 piece of cake, then that gets a lot, So I feel like I'm somewhere in between.
Well, and that's where having so many different wedding planners is great, because every bride has a different vision. So just with the 6 of you right here, we could have 6 totally different weddings, even with the same bride. Your vision that you pull out of her could be different, which leads me to another question that I want to ask you all, because something I had some difficulty with when I was getting married was really honing in on what my vision was. Some brides, I'm sure, come to you and they really don't know what they want for their wedding, and it's got to be really hard to plan something when the bride doesn't even know what she wants. So what is your process when you first meet a bride? You sit down with them. What are the questions you ask, the conversations you have, and how do you pull out their vision and create that for them? Totally loaded question, but you can take that and answer whatever pieces you can.
I usually start with my brides. On my first consultation, my first question is, tell me your story. Tell me how you met. How did you fall in love? Tell me your dating story. And so after I get that, then I kind of have an idea of like what they like to do. Where were they when he proposed? What kinds of things that they do together. And I ask questions about, what kind of music do you like? What kind of flowers do you like? Just to kind of get an idea so I can kind of pull out of them what they may not be thinking of. But in asking those questions, you uncover a lot of information from them. So, and then just kind of go with that. And, I always tell them, I'll give you suggestions, but this is your wedding and we want to make this all about you. So, but I love hearing stories and going from there.
I definitely always start with the stories, like she said. I found when I got married that not many vendors congratulated me as a bride. And so it's really important to me when I sit down with someone that I make them feel like the bride. This is their one important day in their life, their one wedding. And so they're not just another client to me, they are my bride. And so that was really hard for me when I got married. So I always make that a priority. But then one of my favorite things to do is ask a bride, what's one thing you're not willing to go back on? Like, what is one thing that no matter how much it costs, no matter what you think, what is the one thing that you're set in stone about? And I promise every single bride has something, whether it's a charger or a bridesmaid's dress or something they really feel passionate about, they're going to get it. And so I can always stem from that and pull a color or pull inspiration from that one piece that they feel really passionate about. And it all just kind of falls into place at that point.
That's awesome. I like that.
So normally, when we sit down with the bride, we do the same thing. Tell us your story, the whole nine. We congratulate them. But I'm really anal. That's from being in corporate America for like 13 years. And so I have this huge long document that I like to sit down and kind of go through, and it has all of the questions to ensure that we don't, miss a thing. But the questions, especially to the brides that aren't 100, that don't have that Pinterest board ready to go, and like you said, don't really know where to even begin. What type of wedding, you may not know what your color scheme is, or every flower that you want, or all of those bits and details, but kind of have an idea if you want a romantic wedding or a rustic chic wedding, or those types of information. And so I try to get that type of information from the bride, and from there we kind of can lead down the path to specifics of what type of wedding we're going to get to. And by me saying what's your budget for things, and they're like, I don't know, and I'm like, okay, well, do you want to spend $1,000 or $10,000, right? then that kind of gives me an idea of kind of where they want to be in line with budget. And it really helps me figure out where, what type of wedding they're trying to have. And that's kind of how I guide them and try to figure out what type of wedding that they want to have. So at a high level, that's kind of what we do.
Lots of good questions there. Anyone else want to tell us about their process?
Well, I get to know the couple, of course, ask them how they met, ask them how they got engaged. But I also have a questionnaire that just gets to know them better. It's not necessarily based on how they want their wedding, but to more learn about their personality and themselves. And a lot of time from that, I can draw out what they're looking for in the wedding, and then I give them a design board and they love it. So that really works for the brides that come in and they don't know what they want, or their idea isn't complete. We're the ones that change them a few different times throughout the process.
Definitely. That's very interesting. So what are the types of questions that you ask to get to know their personality more?
It's things like, it's a really long questionnaire, but like, what's your favorite food? If you could splurge on one item to just go out and buy something, what would that be? Things like that. Your favorite movie, sometimes even like your favorite flower. You can really pull details about who they are from that. And I have the bride and the groom fill it out separately, so I can kind of mesh that together and make sure I'm pulling out the aspects from both of them.
Very interesting. I like that. You'll have to send me that questionnaire. I'd love to take it.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I'll take that now and then see how much of my daughter's wedding was actually my vision or your vision.
Absolutely, of course.
That reminds me though of a lot of I love interior design and color, and that's what I went to school for before I ended up in the wedding business. So that is very much like how a lot of interior designers, they get to know people based on their likes and their dislikes, what they would splurge on, favorite movie, favorite color, and so forth, to help bring, especially in a household where you have to marry two designs, two personalities together. So the wedding is almost just the precursor to that.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we'll tell a bride, because they're so stressed out and getting so excited over every little detail and just everything has to be done right now. We'll just tell them to take a moment and sit back and close your eyes and just try to vision what you would ever wish for, and then go from there. And I agree, we get their story first and everything, but some of them get so excited and so overwhelmed that they can't think what they want. They have no clue where they want to go from there because they're so upset, help out. So, just take a moment to yourself and sit back and close your eyes and breathe. Do some yoga, something.
One other piece of advice that we give our brides when we first meet them, because normally our consultations are about 2 hours long on a good day, is that you need to be engaged while you're engaged. Enjoy the process of being engaged. Enjoy this time that you have together before you actually literally walk down the aisle. And again, this is Chris with Timeless Blooms, where Amy and I are separate today for social distancing purposes. But the point that we drive home to our brides is really enjoy this process. It is a full-time job getting married, and that's why you hire professionals, whether it be with us or anybody else. It's a process, and just enjoy it and really take the time to be engaged while you're engaged.
It is, and oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do kind of a mixture of what everybody's talking about here and getting to know our brides. And what I like to do is, I've come across people from all different spectrums, as I'm sure we all have. And some of my brides absolutely hate planning, and some of them want to do almost everything and just make sure that we're there to provide that guidance. And so I try and feel them out for that as well, because definitely don't want to impose my own designs on people, because I have a lot of visions and a lot of thoughts, but want them to kind of take the reins first and get through those first couple of steps and then take them from there. So I have a lot of people that are nurses or teachers that don't necessarily have the time to devote. So I might step in a little bit more than somebody that has more luxury of time.
Awesome. So another question that I love to ask everyone, and I know it's going to be different. What is your favorite part of the whole wedding? The ceremony, the cocktail hour, the reception? As a guest, not as a planner necessarily, what part of a wedding do you enjoy the most?
Watching everybody go down the aisle. It's the most stressful part, but it is the most beautiful part, because you get to see it all unfold. And that's what it's all about, is that moment when they're going down the aisle and they're going to actually get married. So that's my favorite part.
That's when the tears start strolling down the face.
I usually do tear up.
All right, so for me, I'm going to answer it twofold. I'm going to answer it as a planner and as a guest. So as a planner, if I'm lucky enough, the first look is my most favorite. And as the guest, I have to say the vows. I'm a softie, so those are my favorite.
One of my favorite moments in a wedding is, and normally you only get to see it as a planner, it's the first look, or the first time that the bride is seeing her father in her wedding dress and fully decked out. It's very emotional. I've had the pleasure of seeing them a few times, and they're really great. It's a great precursor to what's about to happen.
So I feel like my favorite part, and at any aspect of being either a planner, a guest, or when I've been with my dad as a photographer, is the moment that they get in their getaway car, because it's like they finally take a deep breath. They don't look like they're like, oh, what's happening? It's like the first time that you get like a real expression of just, you're my husband, like we're good, this is over, like take a deep breath, let's go to our honeymoon. And so I just feel like that's like the first true moment as husband and wife, is when they can take that deep breath.
I've never thought about that, but I'm going to pay attention to that now at wedding.
I love emotional grooms. Whenever grooms get emotional, whether their bride writes them a letter that they get to read, or just watching them watch their bride walk down the aisle for the first time, it's my favorite on both sides.
I really, really like, there's one point on the dance floor where the bride and the groom, they just look at each other and they just have this like loving look. Like they have no more stress about the day. They're just enjoying the moment. And at that moment, I know that like I've done my job really well. But just that feeling that you get when they look at each other and like it's pure happiness. It's my favorite part.
I think our favorite part is watching them come down the aisle as well, because we have built such a relationship with the bride and the groom and the families that watching all of them, their faces as they're coming down the aisle, and we all tear up because we feel like they're our little adopted daughters and sons. The second part I like is the dancing.
Very fun.
I think I just want to add one more point, because I feel like all of us would agree. I think one of our favorite moments of a wedding is the first time that the bride and groom see the reception space and what they've created and what we've all designed and put together. I know just a couple weeks ago, Amy and I had a wedding at Merriman Wynn, and this bride had created an amazing spread, from a hanging greenery chandelier to a projected lights on the wall with their monogram. And just the first time they came in as husband and wife from their ceremony and saw everything that we were able to create for her, and we brought their dream to life. That's honestly one of my favorite moments too, is just for them to see everything come together for the first time.
That's awesome. And Amy and Chris, you brought this up, so I do want to ask, because I feel like this is the question everyone always asks right before the wedding. Are you doing a first look? Yep. Some people do, some people don't. Some people love the idea, some people hate the idea. So I want you all to weigh in on first looks, pros, cons, because that seems to be the question people always ask. Are you doing a first look? So yeah. What are all of your thoughts on that?
So I mean, I can talk on a personal note. I got married December of 2018. So we did a first look. I think it's a pro because my husband, like I said earlier, I'm a softie. My husband cries over, spilt milk sometimes. So, I mean, we don't want to be, bawling, makeup coming down your face while you're walking down the aisle. So, I would say to the couples that are extremely emotional, first looks are great. So you can kind of get all of that out privately, and so you're not a hot mess, if you will, while you're walking down the aisle. I personally just feel like it is just there's just something really special about having, I could just get emotional just thinking about it, because it was just really special having that first look with my husband, and just knowing that like it was our day, and like it was just really special. I'll leave it at that. Because I don't want to start, welling up on y'all. And it does leave you time, on logistical purposes, it does leave you some extra time, after the wedding. So if you want to try to attend your cocktail hour, or just have more time in general, you have some time to do that because you've gotten a lot of your pictures done before. On the other hand, if you have like like for me, I got married in December, so therefore my wedding, picture wise, if I want sunset weddings, sunset pictures, that's gonna be at like five something, like really, really early, right? Mm-hmm. So it kind of can throw things off. So you just kind of have to figure out how you want your day to flow. That's kind of the one thing you want to think about, and then emotional aspects. Those are the two things, major things that you want to take into consideration when doing first looks. But I am a pro first look person personally. So.
Love it.
I completely agree. I also got married in December of 2019, and my husband did not want to do a first look, which was really hard for me. I really wanted to do one, but he didn't give me any options in the wedding day, so I did give him that one. But it's pros and cons. It's really just, it depends on what your personal preference is, what your fiance's personal preference is. There's pros and cons to each. I would not take the moment of walking down the aisle and seeing him for the first time that day away. Like, that was perfect and it worked out for us. But I did have to have a 4:00 wedding when I wanted a 5:00 wedding because of sunset pictures. And it's just, it depends on who you are and what stage of life you're in and all those things that add up. And so you just have to find what works for you and stick with your gut.
I have to say that I'm maybe a little bit more traditional. I said my favorite part is watching everybody walk down the aisle. Not only that, but just watching that groom see her for the first time. It's priceless. But I've had weddings where they've done first look too. And it's not my opinion. It's, whatever they want, whatever they feel most comfortable with, I'll roll with it. But that's just my personal opinion, is there's nothing better than seeing a groom, even if he does cry.
I 100% wanted my whole way down the aisle because I was boo-hooing, but it works out in the end.
I think it is a good thing only because of pictures, and it depends on how many of those they're going to want to get out of the way and how big a party they want to have, and how long a cocktail hour and whatnot. But we try really hard not to put our opinions. I'm a traditionalist. I would rather see them come down the aisle and that's their first time. But we also have a lot that just do a first touch, which is really cool. And they read a letter to each other on either side of wherever we end up putting them around a barn wall or whatever. And that's pretty cool too. It's emotional at that point as well. But as far as getting the pictures out of the way, the biggest group of them, it's an awesome idea because they get to there's a short cocktail hour and they move on with where they need to be. So just depends.
Those are some, go ahead.
So yeah, there's a lot of logistical reasons why first looks are great. I like them. I think they're a pro. Because the couple really gets to enjoy the moment on their own, because the only other people that are there are the planner, the videographer, and photographer. So it is their personal little moment that they do have instead of sharing it with all the guests. Now, some couples like that, some couples don't, but you don't have the pressure and the stress of being around everybody else while you're seeing your significant other for the first time. So I think it's really good, and it's just genuine feelings.
So now we've got all of our lovey-dovey emotional stuff out of the way. Everyone's talking about their favorite part of the wedding and first looks and walking down the aisle. I'm sure all the couples out there just, especially the ones who have had to postpone and reschedule, are probably just really anticipating when they can have that day together. Let's talk a little bit about some of the logistics of being a wedding planner. We have a list of questions we're kind of rolling off of here too. And I'm really curious, I'm sure Camilla, you probably put this one in there. How many hours on average does it take to plan one wedding?
You know me so well, Laura. I think that's a really good question, because there's so much more than just the day of. There's months and so many hours spent. Has anyone figured out how many hours you actually spend on an average wedding?
I've not completely. I think this is what I've come up with. As much time as you have is as much time as you spend. So if you have a year to plan a whole wedding, you'll spend the year. If you have 6 months, you're gonna spend 6 months. So I don't know how many hours, a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it differs with what package they have, how many people they have, of course. But basically every moment that I have to work, I am working. So
That's awesome. And I know there's a lot that goes into planning a wedding. Obviously, I'm not a wedding planner for that particular reason. I went crazy planning my own wedding. I can't imagine doing it for everyone else. But I know wedding planners are so crucial, especially in moments like this right now where, you know, we're having a ton of postponements and things are very up in the air. It's so nice to know that you have someone looking out for you. So besides, you know, things like that, what is a benefit of having a wedding planner that a bride or mother of the bride or groom might not think of? How can you help in a way of, and provide something that they might not have thought of for their wedding day?
I feel like it's you know, there's that insurance commercial. I can't even remember which one it is. Maybe Farmers, that's like, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. I feel like that applies to all of us because we can really use our experience no matter what the question is, what the proposed issue is. I think we can get, you know, we can be that person for them and really step in any way that they need.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces with weddings, a lot of small details that can be overlooked really easily. And because we have the experience and we've seen a lot of things, we can help you just make sure that everything's taken care of, but also have a plan B and a plan C just in case plan A falls through. So.
I think another great thing about having a wedding planner at its core, besides the organizational, besides everything that goes on in the back end, because we're all very skilled at that, we all have our own processes, is having someone in your corner. I think it's super important for the bride or the groom, whoever is the one that is predominantly kind of spearheading the wedding, to have someone in their corner for that support, for the very reason to keep going forward, because you're working towards this goal. You know you're going to walk down the aisle, and then you have this professional who knows what they're talking about, who has the contacts, who has the verbiage, who can really, I mean, we're trained like wedding counselors for sure. Like we know how to get them down the aisle and get them down the aisle with a smile. And I think it's really important for them to have somebody in their corner. And I mean, on our team, Amy is the logistical, organizational. I mean, she said that she was anal, and I can attest to that 100%. But really, it comes down to like who is there for your bride, and who is your bride going to call in the middle of the night if something goes wrong, whether it has to do with her wedding or not. And that's really, I mean, all of us are planners here. We know the connection that we have to our brides, and, you know, being in the corner for them on their team is really important.
Yeah, and to add on to that, one thing that I've helped brides with a couple times is contracts with other vendors. There have been some things that haven't really always added up. I'm like, wait a minute, we need to look into that. So, and that's not something that they always pick up on. You know, a lot of people don't read stuff like that. And so with a wedding planner, we look through every contract, make sure that, you know, it makes sense, the right dates on it. They don't have some other things in there that maybe shouldn't be in there. So I think that's I've had some good response from that.
I agree there. I don't think that they realize they have to read all the fine print to figure out, you know, about their venue. Some of them embed that you can't have candles after they think that they want candles, or they have to have a security guard if they're having liquor, you know, all the fine little points that they don't find out when they visit the venue that might be important to them. But also they don't realize we wear a ton of different hats. Like he said, we do many hats that we can help them take care of everything. So, and then this time that we're in right now, the new normal, we're wearing the psychology hat and the shrink and the big shoulders.
And the fortune teller hat.
I think what's important to me to make my brides always feel comfortable is that I'm not going to let you down. But like everyone else said, it's really important to have a wedding planner for the mere reason that one person knows exactly what's going on, what's in your head, what's on paper, what's on that vendor contract versus that vendor contract, what time you're leaving, what time you're supposed to be where. And I think that's really important to have that one person who knows exactly what you want, because if not, nobody knows who to call but you. And so now you're no longer the bride, you're the planner. And so that's really important to me, is to be that point person and to be the person that says, yeah, I know what she's doing at this time on this day. I got it.
And you mentioned having you know, a plan B and a plan C. So I want to ask you all, have you ever had an experience at a wedding, something went wrong and you had to fix it on the fly, or you had to go to plan B right away? Can you talk briefly about that and really kind of show your expertise about that?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So my first experience, like I said, was with my childhood best friend. She, bless her heart, her sister planned a wedding that was ruined by Hurricane Matthew. Then 2 years later, she planned a wedding that was ruined by Hurricane Florence, whatever hurricane was 2 years later. And her venue was completely flooded the week before her wedding. And so she came to my house. I'll never forget it. She planned the whole thing by herself. I will not take any credit for that. But she came to my house and I was like, what can I do for you? Like, you've got to let me do something. And she was like, just help me figure out which tablecloth I'm going to use. My venue had all my tablecloths. My venue has all my vases. I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay. And so we just started like getting vases together and tablecloths, and we actually ended up ordering tablecloths. And so that right there, like, I was not a wedding planner, but I was like, we got to figure this out. Like, everybody's back down on her. Like, we cannot get 2 hours to her venue. What are we going to do? And so I think having people that have been through that, and like vendors who have been through that, and like really just have your best interest is super important. If a vendor shows that they're not going to have your best interest on your wedding day, then you don't need to use them because they're not your vendor.
Mm-hmm.
I had a wedding in just this past November, and typically November's, the weather's okay here, but it was freezing cold. It was so cold. And so she wanted to have her ceremony outside. And so we had planned on that up until the day of. And then that day, it was like 40 degrees. And she's like, we can't do this. So we had to just figure out how to have it inside, how to let everybody sit at their tables. But we were able to move some tables around so that everybody could see her walking down the aisle and see the actual ceremony going on. So it worked out really well, but yep, it was certainly on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar. That's actually my wedding. I got married December of 18, like as I mentioned, and it was the day before we got that like 7 or 8 inches of snow. And I was supposed to get married outside in front of this tree that, like, when I saw the venue, I got married at the pavilion at Carriage Farm. And when I saw the venue, I cried. I was like, this is where I want to get. I wanted to get married in front of that tree. I was going to have lights hanging down. Like, that was the dream, right? Well, yeah. A week before, it was like, oh, it's going to be cold. And I was like, I don't care. I planned for cold. I had bought everyone, like my gift was blankets with like our like fur blankets with our name and date like etched into it. Didn't matter. And I had, because I didn't want to be, planning my wedding and being crazy, I did get a month of coordinator. And she's like, Amy, it needs to be moved inside. And I'm like, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it, right? I was adamant about it. And finally she convinced me, plan B time. And plan B, we moved all the twinkle lights inside that were going to be in the tree. We hung them from the ceiling of the pavilion, and it was gorgeous. But man, was I sad. But it turned out probably better than had it been outside, because we got to enjoy those twinkle lights instead of for 20 minutes. We got to enjoy them all night. And it was beautiful, but I was devastated, but plan B worked.
Glad that worked for you.
Yeah.
Same way, I had a vision for where I wanted my ceremony at my venue, and I said, if I have to move it inside because there's a hurricane, I'm going to be heartbroken.
Yes.
I lucked out though, so.
Yeah. I was heartbroken, but it all turned out beautiful, so it was okay.
Married now.
Yeah.
Well, we did Cindy's daughter's wedding the day after Matthew in downtown Raleigh. And Friday night during the hurricane, we thought we were going to have to figure out how we were going to plug everything in and make it happen. But we all had to get our blowers out. So we all turned into landscapers the next day, because it was at an old house downtown. So all the trees were and limbs and everything. But luckily it wasn't flooded front yard. And then since it was so near the governor's mansion, we actually had electricity. But we put Plan B into operation Friday night during the storm because the roads were flooding and everything else, besides trying to keep the bride calm. But we had a wedding the next day. It was a gorgeous day, but we turned into landscapers. So you just kind of got to roll with the flow.
One of those many hats, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, working in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, hurricanes were very common down there. And, you know, it's one of those things that you don't really know until like 7 to 10 days before. So Plan B has had to go into effect a few times. I've also had a venue burn down right before a wedding, 3 days before, an all-inclusive venue. So that was probably the most like stressful as far as getting everything organized again, because we had to move everything right in the middle of a busy wedding season. So
Do you see all of our faces? We're all like, what?
yes, but we got it all taken care of. A lot of the vendors were able to move over, but like things like the catering and decor, all of that was included into the venue. So we had to find things last minute. And while I tried to keep her vision in the wedding, there were some things that just we couldn't source it just a few days before. So that was interesting. That was probably my most challenging Plan B that I had to go through.
It's crazy. Anyone else? So my last question that I have for everyone, again, kind of going back to those logistics, I want to know how everyone works pricing wise. You know, being small businesses, everyone breaks down pricing differently. So do you all work with packages? Do you just do custom pricing and kind of build everything on? And then also as far as payments, do you do deposit and payment plan, deposit 30 days prior? Give me kind of a brief rundown of how you each work for the money payments and things like that.
Sure, I can start us off. So we have a couple different packages. We don't like normally do a la carte. You know, we've got day of, month of, whatever you want to call it, all the way up to full service, and then we've got kind of something in between. You know, if you've kind of planned it all, but you know, need a little bit more than just month of. So we have those. Normally we like to do 2 payment plans. So pay at contract, and then again 2 weeks before your wedding. However, like we're working with a bride right now who has asked, hey, can I pay in 4 installments? No problem. So we're extremely flexible. But you know, we do ask that you sign the contract with us to ensure that you know, we've got an agreement, if you will.
Yeah.
And then our prices, you know, kind of range. It really depends on obviously what package you're gonna go with. Right now, we were doing a spring package for the month of coordination. We were gonna do that if anyone books by the end of April. We were going to offer that for $1,200. And month of is, you know, includes all sorts of things, right? That a normal month of. What sets us apart from other planners is we actually include a trip to CE rental, which a lot of people don't include that in their month of. So we include that, as well as your rehearsal ceremony. That's in there as well. So we've got that, and then our prices kind of go up from there. So, you know, if you're interested in more than that, we can always discuss, but that's kind of where we start off.
Awesome. Good information.
Yeah.
We're very similar. We have 3 packages, kind of like Timeless Blooms. We start with event management, which starts 3 months out, kind of pushes you through the final quarter in corporate speak to get you through the last session there. And then it goes up, you know, we go all the way up to full service, and we are open to doing custom contracts if people want something from the different packages. We're happy to create something that they're looking for. So we, you know, payment plans, again, we're flexible, just like Timeless Blooms. We tend to do a $500 deposit, and then we do 50% of the remaining balance 2 months before, and then the final 30 days out. But, you know, we have people that are planning for 2021 that want to do monthly payments so that it's smaller when it comes out of their bank account. So we're more than happy to set that up as well.
Awesome, great.
I also have 3 packages. I have full service wedding planning, which is the complete package. And then I have partial wedding planning, which is picking up where you left off, which is, you know, at whatever point a bride decides she's had enough and wants some help, I can step in. And then day of coordination, which is actually month of. So each of those has its own price. And then I typically do, I do it in 3 installments. So at contract signing, I ask for a third. At the midway point between contract signing and their wedding, I ask for a third, and then 2 weeks before the wedding. But I've also been flexible too. If, you know, something comes up or whatever, I'll work with my clients too, so that it works out for them.
Awesome. Good.
We have packages as well, about the same type thing. The full service package, though, we offer dishes, linens, all of our storage that we have for decorations, and we do the decorating and we do the tear down and the cleanup and all that in our full service package. So that's basically all inclusive. You know, you get your director, your coordinator, and all the other stuff as well, because we do have so much china and linens to offer, and then they don't have to rent any of that. And then we have our floral packages as well, which we get our flowers wholesale, and I do the flowers, and we can put that together so they don't have to use a florist or whatever. And then of course we have our day of or month of, whatever they want to call it. But we sit down with a bride, and you know, we have start at prices, but we usually put the package together because not every bride has a need for the same thing, especially with a lot of the venues going what they call all inclusive, which is very confusing to us now because they're all inclusive to a point, but they still tell them you need a day of coordinator. So we don't know what all that all inclusive means at some of these venues. It's like, do you decorate and tear it down? You know, what you need to find out from your venue, or give us their number and we'll find out what did they do so we can help you along with what your decision is from there. So anyway, that's why we customize our packages, because they, you know, they don't know what all they need at that point. So anyway.
In your experience thus far, what have you found all inclusive to mean? I'm sure it's different with every venue, but what have you kind of seen that meaning?
I'm seeing it's meaning they have the table and the chairs, and you know, they set that stuff up, and some of them will have the linens that they can use. There's one venue in Harnett County that does that has a bunch of decorations that you can choose from, but it basically is your chargers and your lanterns. So it's all the same thing. So if a bride wants something really different, you know, not just what everybody else has had, then, you know, that's where we can step in and we can say, well, we have all this other kind of stuff, you know, that type of thing. We have another venue that says they're all inclusive. I can't remember the name of it, but there's no planner involved. You have to pay extra for a planner. They can get you a planner, but okay, what's that planner going to do for you? So it's just they're all inclusive to a point, I guess. So it gets really confusing. So we have to dig deep into what that means. So, but the Daisies are trying to get themselves a venue too. So we will be all inclusive.
What I have found is a lot of brides will say, oh, my venue has a planner or a coordinator. And so I always like to explain they do, but that coordinator is working for the venue. I will work for you. So they're there to make sure that the venue's taken care of, that everything's put away the way it's supposed to and all that good stuff. But I am there to work for you, to be, there for you all day long. So I always try to explain that it's, they may have a coordinator there, but that's for the venue. They're not going to get you down the aisle. They're not going to, do all the things that we would do in addition. And all of my packages start at a certain amount so that if they do want to add in additional services, then we can talk about that and work out the price according to that.
For me, I have 3 packages. I have the full planning service like everyone has, but I've recently added event design, which just means that instead you find all your vendors, because I know, so like when I got married, I knew exactly who I wanted, where I was going, what my first meeting was going to be. But I know I've had so many brides come to me and be like, I just don't know what I want it to look like, but I know who I want to take my pictures and do my videography, and I know what venue I want to get married at, but I ain't got a clue what color I want. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. So I'm really excited about that new package. It's something that's super near and dear to my heart. So that one I'm really excited about. And then I have, of course, the month of partial coordination package like everyone.
So when you talk about design, tell me a little bit more about that. They may not have any idea what color they want. So are you sitting in or helping with those consultations with some of the other key vendors, like with the rental company, with the linens, maybe with the florist or the invitation company, to help them design their invitation as well?
Yes. So it's the design aspect of invitations, or even walking into a rental place and saying like, what tablecloths do you have? I want to see that with this chair and this piece of china and this stemware, and putting all of that together. It's not just, hey, let's go meet with your florist anymore. It's what pieces are going to make this a complete vision, and what makes this your Pinterest board with a twist on it that makes it about yourself. What personality? Are you going to do signature cocktails? If you're going to do signature cocktails and you have a dog you love, let's name it after your dog. Things like that really just add a personal feel to a wedding, even though hey, I want this photographer or I want this venue. That is anything any bride can have, but making it a personal touch is where that event design comes into.
Do we get everyone to answer? I think, Laura, those are all the questions that I have. Do you have any other questions?
Me personally, no, but does anybody have any other final thoughts that they want to share with the group about wedding planning in general?
I just want to thank you guys for putting everybody together, and what you're doing every Wednesday at this time, and everybody needs to have an outlet. And even if the brides aren't on immediately, they'll get on later. And this is great, especially since they couldn't come to the bridal show.
Absolutely. And just to let the brides know that we are still here for you. Even though we couldn't have the show and be in front of you, we are still here for you. We want to serve you and make your day beautiful.
Thank you. It's funny. It's something that we talk a lot about in our office, about face-to-face communication and meeting people at the show, and how valuable that is. And, the more the internet technology advances, there's so many opportunities out there for brides and just anyone for that matter, to find information on the internet. And I think we're probably all getting about to our breaking point with the internet. I think everyone's going to really enjoy getting back out to meet people face to face and having that human interaction. So I hope that will be good for us with the show business and getting people back together. It will be groups of people again, so I'm sure everyone's going to want to ease into that. But I know that the brides will be happy to be able to meet with everyone in person when they get that opportunity again. But to just be able to provide you an outlet to be able to reach the brides too is why Camille and I are here, and we love doing it, and love having the opportunity to connect you guys and have you meet each other as well, and get some new people to have your back in the world as well. I think you can't underestimate the value of networking. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll get everybody tagged in our video once that gets up and posted, and maybe filter, or maybe you all can post some of the comments in as well, just to kind of refresh everybody with who you were and what the name of your company is. And we're just so excited to be able to do this for y'all. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for doing it. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Well, you guys have a great day, and And for all you Forever Bridal Wedding Show followers, we will be back next Wednesday. I believe photography is our category. Is that right, Camelia?
That is correct. So we'll be back next Wedding Wednesday, 4 p.m., same place, Facebook Live, talking with wedding photographers. So get your questions ready for next week.
Thank
We'll
you.
see everyone.
Awesome.
It
Well,
was
thank you,
nice
everybody,
meeting y'all.
again. Have a great day. And everybody keep planning your wedding. And we look forward to seeing you real soon again. Bye.
Nice meeting y'all.
Bye.